Good morning, year one, and welcome to Thursday's English lesson. Now, before we begin, can you remind me what is the word of the week? Fantastic. The word of the week is compare. And do you remember what is the meaning of the word compare? Good job is to examine closely to know the similarities or differences between two things. Fantastic. Can you remember what is the synonym of the word compare? That means, can you remember of a word that has the same meaning as the word compare? Fantastic is measure or study. Good job. Now let's move on and see if you can reflect back on your prior learning and remember any of the features of a narrative. You can pause the video. Are you able to remember some? Fantastic. Let's look at them together again. A narrative must have interesting characters. It must have a plot. It must have a setting. It must have exciting words and adjectives. It must have character voices. It must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You can use actions to help remember words. It must have pictures, like illustrations. And it must have an adventure or a problem might occurring. You can also act out the story, and it must be entertaining. Fantastic. Well done if you could remember some of the features of a narrative. Now let's move on and have a look at our star words for today. Your star words are my 10, your 10, plot, story, adventure, narrative, characters, setting. Well done. Your learning question today is, can I compose a narrative? Your steps to success are, I can use some of the features of a narrative. I can include adjectives to describe the characters. I can use and to link ideas together. Now, let's look again at your own story. Who are the characters in your story? Where is the setting of your story? What are your characters wearing? So what are their outfits? Does it link to your setting? What happens in your story? What do you think your characters might say? How do you think they might reply? Please reflect on these questions. You can pause the video and do that now. Were you able to reflect? Were you able to think of your characters and your setting and the outfits that your characters might be wearing or what they might be saying? Fantastic, well done. Now, remember what we said yesterday. What makes a good sentence? I have my sentence here that we wrote together yesterday to help you remember what makes a good sentence. You can pause the video and have a think. Were you able to do that? Fantastic. A good sentence must start with a capital letter. It must have finger spaces. And you need to have the correct punctuation at the end. Also, a good sentence must have some adjectives and some interesting words. Now, were you able to think of some interesting words and write some good sentences in your story yesterday? Fantastic. Now, here is my plan again. Yesterday, we wrote together the introduction to my story, so that means the beginning. And we used our story planning to do so. Today, we're going to write the middle of the story. So let's reflect again on the story planning and make sure we know what we're writing. My characters are Sophie, Sophie's mom, Sophie's dad, and Tiger. The setting was the seaside, and I wrote on my planning that one day, Sophie, her mom and dad went to the seaside. It was a hot and sunny day. The sand was burning in their feet and they could hear the waves. So then we have our plot. The plot was Sophie invited the tiger for a picnic at the seaside. Tiger was very hungry, so he ate all the food. Sophie, Mum and Dad were hungry, so they went to the fish and chip shop. Now let's look at the story that we wrote together yesterday. We wrote once, remember we used that story language. Once there was a little girl called Sophie. She lived with her mum and dad in a beautiful house in London. On one hot and sunny day, Sophie's dad had the lovely idea to visit the seaside. They wore their swimming suits, packed some food for their picnic, and jumped in the car. Now, what else do you think? How can I continue my story? Oh, I have an idea. On my try today, on their way to the seaside, Sophie said, Daddy, Mummy, could I please invite my friend Tiger to join us? Mum and Dad were very happy that Sophie was so kind and said, Yes, darling. So Sophie invited the tiger to join them. So shall we write this together? Okay, let me get my pen ready and start writing. Okay, so we're going to write. So I'm going to continue from here. I'm going to write next to it. So I'm going to continue my story. So remind me again, how do I start my sentence? What do I need? Fantastic, I need a capital letter. Okay, so I'm going to write, I need my finger space, I have it there. So on their way. So do you remember how to spell way? Oh, fantastic. Thank you for sounding that out for me. To the seaside. Sophie said, now, because it says that, Sophie said, Mum, Dad, could I please invite my friend Tiger? Remember, Tiger is a name, so that's why we put a capital letter. Spelling mistake there. To join us. Question mark. Then what do we say? That Mum and Dad were very happy that Sophie was kind in a way, so we need finger space and we need to start with a capital letter. Also, I use the question mark because it is a question. Sophie asked her mommy and daddy a question, didn't she? Now let's start again and with a capital letter and write Mum and Dad. So Dad were very happy that Sophie was so kind, and they said, Yes, darling. And what are in the end of my sentence? Fantastic, in the full stop. Then I'm going to write, so Sophie invited the tiger to join them. Yep. See, that's why you need to look what you're writing and read it again, because you might make mistakes. So make sure you correct your mistakes like I did here. Okay, so let's read it together again from the beginning to make sure that our story makes sense so far. So we wrote, once there was a little girl called Sophie. She lived with her mum and dad in a beautiful house in London. One hot and sunny day, Sophie's dad had a lovely idea to visit the seaside. They wore the swimming suits, packed some food for their picnic, and jumped in their car. On their way to the seaside, Sophie said, "Mom, Dad, could you please invite my friend Tiger to join us?" Mom and Dad were very happy that Sophie was so kind, and they said, "Yes, darling." So Sophie invited. Now, do you think I need that? I don't need that, do I? So I'm going to delete that. So I'm going to correct my sentence. That's why you have to read it again once you complete your writing. So Sophie invited Tiger to join them. Now tomorrow I'm going to write the rest of my story. Now, your task today is to continue writing your story. Do you think you can write the middle part of the story? Remember to include some features of a narrative in your writing, like adjectives, interesting vocabulary, and your characters' voices. Your challenge is to read your work and correct any mistakes you might spot, like I did earlier. Well done, everybody, and I will see you all next time. Remember to take a picture and send that to your class teacher. Bye now.